सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ श्री गणेशाय नमः। ॐ श्री सरस्वत्यै नमः। ॐ श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पाद शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं। समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरं। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवं परमानन्दमाधवम्। सर्ववेदान्तसिद्धान्त गोचरं तमगोचरं गोविन्दं परमानन्दं सद्गुरुं प्रणतोऽस्म्यहम्। We are into the important section of how to discriminate between the self and the not self. Tayoho vivekah katham. And while explaining that, Shankaracharya ji or the Guru is using the methodology of Panchakosha Viveka, the discrimination of the 5 sheaths. The discrimination of 5 sheaths means what? Discrimination of the self from the 5 sheaths. That is the methodology used. And in the last session, we saw the discussion was on the first kosha, first sheath, Annamaya kosha, the food sheath. What is the food sheath? The food sheath is this physical body, the gross body that we see. Now, why is this gross body called as Annamaya kosha? Because it is the modification of Anna. Maya means modification. It is modification of food. Means what? It is born because of the food. It stays, it grows because of the food. And finally, when the jiva goes from this gross body, it becomes food for others. So it comes from food, stays in food, goes back to become food. And therefore, the gross body is called as Annamaya kosha. Clear? No confusion. Now, Shankaracharya ji gave list of reasons why this Annamaya kosha cannot be me. Janehe purvam adhimrutehe ayam nasti. First reason is, before the birth of this body and after the death of this body is not there. Whereas self is always there. Jatakshanaha, it is lasting for a very short time, whereas self is nitya. Kshanagunaha, even its qualities are changing, fleeting qualities are there. Qualities are also keeping. See, for example, what are the qualities of the gross body? That I am tall, short, I am lean, I am fat. Does it not change? It changes. COVID has taught us. It changes. We thought that I can never become fat, and now I have become fat, and now it is not reducing how much ever I try. Qualities keep changing. Even the age is the quality of the body. It grows, it matures, all these are qualities. That also changes. Aniyata svabhavaha, its nature is very uncertain. Another reason. Then what? Na ekaha, it is not one. These are all diversified bodies are there all around us. Whereas Atma is one, non-dual. One more reason he gave, jadascha. And finally the body is inert. Whereas self, you yourself are consciousness. How can I be that body? Ghatavat paridrishyamanaha. The body is seen like a pot is seen. The pot that is seen is inert. Same way body that is seen is also inert. Then swa-atma katham bhava vikara vetta bhavati. How can this body be that self who is the knower of everything? The inert thing cannot know unless there is a conscious entity behind it. So the self and body are different. He went on to explain some more reasons that the body has parts, and when the parts are removed or parts are changed, the body still remains, which proves that the power behind those parts is something else and not the body. Another reason. Then what? What is the self? Who is the self? Deha tad dharma tat karma tad avasthadi sakshina. I am the witness of body, its characteristics, its actions, its states, etc. And being the witness, the existence, the distinction from the body is self-proven, self-evident. Why? Because the witness has to be different from what is witnessed. The knower has to be different from what is known. So since I know everything about the body, I cannot be the body. Ghatasya vetta ghatad bhinnaha. The knower of the pot is different from the pot. In the same way, dehasya vetta dehat bhinnaha. The witness or the knower of the body has to be different from the body. Shankaracharya said one more thing. You see, what is this body? This body is made up of all the impure things. Shalya rashihi, frame of bones, māṃsaliptaha, covered with flesh, malapurnaha, full of filth, atikashmalaha, extremely impure. Ayam swayam veta etad vilakshanaha, katham bhavet. How can this be the self which is different from it? Then, but Vedji, I agree, it cannot be. But all of us have the feeling that I am this body. Ideally, yes, I agree with your point theoretically that I cannot be the body. Because of so many reasons that my nature and the body's characteristics are different. I agree. But the fact of the matter is, everybody has that feeling. Why? tvaṅmāṃsamedo'sthipurīṣarāśau ahammatim mūḍhajanah karoti. Shankaracharya says it is because you are ignorant, because you are a fool. Therefore you think that I am the body. Otherwise, how can this mass of skin, flesh, fat, bones and filth, etc. put together be called as you? It cannot be. Only a fool, an ignorant person calls the body to be me. Vilakshanam vetti vicharashilaha. But vicharashilaha, but a thinker understands that nijaswarupam vilakshanam. One's own nature is different from this. Paramarthabhutam, it is supreme reality is what is my nature. Vetti, he understands this. Now Shankaracharya creates three categories. He says there are three categories. One is the deluded fool. Another is the realized master who understands I am not the body but I am Supreme Brahman. He says in between the two there is one more person. Who is that? A mere intellectual scholar. Dehaha aham iti eva jadasya buddhihi. For an ignorant person, this body is me. This is the conviction. This is the understanding. Whereas, dehe cha jive vidushahatu ahandhihi. But for a person who has got intellectual understanding that I am not the body, says that I am the jiva who has the body. Why? Because the person has got only intellectual knowledge, no experience. But Viveka Vijnanavataha Mahatmanaha. But for that great person who has got the experience, Viveka Vijnanavataha, one who has got Vijnana experience, born out of Viveka, born out of discrimination, for such a person, Brahma Aham iti eva matihi sadatmani. For that person, what is the strong conviction? I am Brahman. This is what is there. So, if you have the feeling that I am the body or the body is me, then you will come under the category of mūḍhajana. If you have the feeling that I am the jiva who has the body, then you are understanding little bit, but you have to still go towards the experience. Only when you experience one's own true nature, you realize that I am none of these. I am that Brahman. Therefore, now Shankaracharya says, oh my dear, a loving advice by Shankaracharya. Let us read. Verse number 161. Atrātmabuddhiṃ tyaja mūḍhabuddhe. It's okay. Once again we will chant. Atrātmabuddhiṃ tyaja mūḍhabuddhe. tvaṅmāṃsamedo'sthipurīṣarāśau. sarvātmani brahmaṇi nirvikalpe. kuruṣva śāntiṃ paramāṃ bhajasva. atrātmabuddhiṃ tyaja mūḍhabuddhe. tvaṅmāṃsamedo'sthipurīṣarāśau. sarvātmani brahmaṇi nirvikalpe. kuruṣva śāntiṃ paramāṃ bhajasva. Therefore, O my dear, atra, here means in this body. What is this body? tvaṅmāṃsamedo'sthipurīṣarāśau. Here in this mass, this is the same phrase which has been coming from last three times it has come already. In this mass of skin, flesh, fat, bones and filth, in this body, atrātmabuddhiṃ tyaja. Please give up the feeling, the notion of I. Atrātmabuddhiṃ tyaja. Don't have this notion of I in this body. Hey mūḍhabuddhe, oh fool, please do not feel that I am the body. Then what? sarvātmani brahmaṇi nirvikalpe kuruṣva. Do kuruṣva. Do it. Do what? Have that notion of I in whom? In the self of all. sarvātmani. There is one self in all beings. That is me. Have that feeling. sarvātmani nirvikalpe. In that absolute non-dual nirvikalpa, without any vikalpa, without any second thing. In that reality, brahmani, in that Brahman, kuruṣva, have that atmabuddhi. So don't have notion of I in the body. Have that notion of I in that Brahman, in that nirvikalpa, supreme reality, which is there as the self of all. Okay. Then what? paramāṃ śāntim bhajasva. Bhajasva, gain, attain. Attain what? Paramāṃ śāntim. Supreme peace. Supreme bliss. Attain. So now this is the advice. Okay? Give up the notion of I in the body. Understand your oneness with that Supreme Brahman, which is the self of all. And you will be able to attain that supreme bliss. Why? Because that is the nature of you. When you realize your nature, you will attain it. That is what you do, oh my dear. So, summary of entire Vedanta. This is the verse. Detach from the not self, attach to the supreme self, and then enjoy the bliss. That's what Gurudev also said, no? In essence, what are the two steps? Detach and attach. Detach from what you are not, attach to what you really are. Okay, please do this. Now what? Shankaracharya says, as long as one has this feeling of I in the body, there is no possibility of liberation. You cannot have two birds in two hands. That I have feeling of notion of I in the body also, and I can get liberated also. That is not going to happen. You have to give this up to gain that. Because always whenever it is said, no, you give this up and then you gain that, we try to find a middle way, saying that, is it possible that I can have both? No, you cannot have both. That is what Shankaracharya explains now in the next verse. You have to give up the identification with the not self to realize the self. Let us read verse number 162. Dehendriyādāvasati bhramoditāṃ vidvānahaṃ na jahāti yāvat tāvanna tasyāsti vimuktivārtāpy astveṣa vedāntanayāntadarśī. Dehendriyādāvasati bhramoditāṃ vidvānahaṃ na jahāti yāvat tāvanna tasyāsti vimuktivārtāpy astveṣa vedāntanayāntadarśī. Shankaracharya says, Dehendriyādau asati yāvat vidvān bhramoditāṃ ahantāṃ na jahāti. See how the sentence is made, okay? Yāvat, as long as. Vidvān. Vidvān here means a learned scholar, an intellectual person. Not Vidvān doesn't mean jnani. We are not talking about jnani here. One who has got mere intellectual understanding. Vidvān, yāvat vidvān, dehendriyādau, in the body, etc. Asati, asati, not asti. Asati, asati, in the unreal thing. Asat, sat asat, that asat, saptami vibhakti, asati. Why? Because dehendriyādau, in the body, etc., which are unreal. In those unreal body, indriya, senses, etc., in all of them, bhramoditāṃ ahantāṃ na jahāti. Brahma uditam, born from delusion. Ahantam, identification, the notion or feeling that I am that. Na jahāti, does not give up. See once again how the sentence is made. Yāvat, as long as vidvān, an intellectual scholar, dehendriyādāvasati, in the unreal body, senses, etc., bhramoditāṃ ahantāṃ, the identification born from delusion, na jahāti, does not give up. So as long as one has the feeling of I in the body, etc., tavat, so long, till then, na tasyāsti vimuktivārtāpy, tasya, for that person, vimuktivārta, the talk of liberation. Vimuktivārta api nasti. There is not even a talk of liberation. Means what? See, it is like in our colloquial language also we use such phrases, isn't it? बात ही नहीं हो सकती उसके बारे में, वो तो मिलना बहुत दूर की बात है, बात ही नहीं हो सकती. That is exactly what he is saying in Sanskrit. Vimuktivārta api nasti. There is not even any discussion on whether that person will get liberation or not. He will not get, full stop. Why? Because he has still got the notion of I in the body, etc. So as long as he has not given up that, so long there is no talk of liberation. Means what? There is no possibility of liberation for such a person. Astveṣa vedāntanayāntadarśī. Even if that person is vedāntanayāntadarśī. See how Shankaracharya is using. Vedanta means Vedanta. Vedanta we know. This wisdom of self-knowledge. Naya antadarshi. One who is Naya. Naya means philosophy. Antadarshi, the one who sees the inside, or one who is well-versed, one who has gone deep into the philosophy of Vedanta. Even if such a person is there, unless he gives up the identification with the not-self, there is no question of liberation. In the very beginning of Vivekachoodamani, Shankaracharya had explained this. Vadantu shastrāni yajantu devān, kurvantu karmāni, bhajantu devataha. You remember? I think some 5th, 6th verse, around that only he has said, you may do all other things unless you gain that experience that I am Brahman. Na muktihi na arhati something, brahmashatantarepi, something like this he had said. Something, I don't remember now that verse. So what is the point that he is trying to explain here? That as long as, you see, you may be well-versed in the philosophy of Vedanta. You may have studied all the books front, back, everywhere. But unless you have learned, unless you have experienced that I am Brahman, unless you have given up the identification with the not-self, there is no question of liberation. Atmaikyabodhena vina vimuktihi na siddhyati brahmashatantarepi. That was the verse. Atma aikyabodhena vina, without the experience of I am that one non-dual self, na vimuktihi siddhyati, the liberation is not attained. Brahmashatantarepi, even in the time of 100 Brahmajis. So in short, what is the point that he is trying to say here? Unless you get that direct experience, I am Brahman, the self is Brahman, till that time, it is not possible to gain liberation. You may study, you may become a scholar, you may get name and fame, people will say, Arre, he is a great Vedanti, etc., etc., that is all okay. But liberation will not be possible. Yāvat vidvān dehendriyādāvasati bhramoditāṃ ahantāṃ na jahāti, tāvat tasya vimuktivārtāpy nasti, astveṣa vedāntanayāntadarśī. Even if a person is well versed in the scriptures, can chant, can recite Bhagavad Gita from front to back and back to front, knows all the Upanishads by heart, memorized. Unless experience has happened, it is not possible. Right? That is, so mere mastery, intellectual mastery is not sufficient. See, because it doesn't make sense. Vedanta is subjective science. It is not objective science where we can study it like physics, chemistry, mathematics and not bring any change in our life. See, a great mathematician may be a great mathematician and still a lazy person. There is no connection between the two. A great physicist can be a great physicist, but morally may not be good. Isn't it? That is all possible. Great economist can be there, but is getting very angry because there is no connection. That's objective science. My life, my habits, my everything remains separate. But you cannot have all these things when you are a Vedanti. Why? Because Vedanta is subjective science. It has to bring change in me. And therefore, it is not possible unless that inner transformation happens. So intellectually I have understood I am not the body, I am Brahman. But if I have not actually given up that identification with the body, liberation is not possible. That is what Shankaracharya is saying. Therefore, what we should do, we have to give up this identification with the body. Okay, fine. But easy said and done. Very easy to say, give up the identification with the body. How? Give us some kind of pointer, some kind of thinking that is required. Now Shankaracharya says, I will tell you what. Let me explain. Verse number 163. Chāyāśarīre pratibimbagātre yatsvapnadehe nirvikalpe yenātmavānannamayo'nupūrṇaḥ kāchit jīvaccharīre ca tathaiva chāyāśarīre pratibimbagātre yatsvapnadehe nirvikalpe yenātmavānannamayo'nupūrṇaḥ kāchit jīvaccharīre ca tathaiva. My dear, yatha, just as chāyāśarīre, in the shadow body, chaya means shadow. Shadow body means what? Shadow of your body. Pratibimbagātre, in the reflected body. You are there, mirror is there, and reflection of body is there in the mirror. In that reflection of your body. Yatsvapnadehe, or in the dream body. When you see a dream, there is a body, isn't it? There has to be for experience of the dream. Nirvikalpe, or in the imaginary body of yourself in your mind. Yatha atrātmabuddhiṃ tāvanna asti kāchit. Just as you don't have any kind of identification, notion of I in all these, tatha eva, in the same way, jīvaccharīre ca, even in this individual body, in this body that is so-called living, mastu, please do not have what? The notion of I. Means what? What is it trying to say? You see, suppose we are walking on the road and the light, because of the light, your shadow of your body is falling on the road. It happens all the time, isn't it? As children, we have played with that also. Because as the roadside, those lamps, we keep walking, their angle keeps changing, so our shadow also keeps moving. like this, like this, like this. You must have experienced all that. Now suppose a truck goes over the shadow. You are there on the roadside. The shadow is there on the road. The truck goes over the shadow. What do you feel? We don't feel anything. Isn't it? Suppose the shadow falls in the ditch. Because on the roadside there is ditch also. Shadow falls in the ditch. Do you take bath? No. We don't take bath. Pratibimbagātre. This is chāyāśarīre. This is shadow body. Now pratibimbagātre, your reflection is there in the water or in the mirror. Mirror, sometimes it happens that the mirror is not clean. Isn't it? And therefore some black dot is there and we think that it is dot on our body. We start cleaning. No, but we understand it is the dot on the mirror. It is there in the reflection. Actually, it is not there. Isn't it? That famous scene of Amitabh Bachchan where he puts Dettol and antiseptic etc. on the mirror, thinking that Pavam fellow has got. You remember the famous scene that he has got hit, therefore he is hurt and therefore starts putting. That is okay because he is drunk and therefore we take it as a comedy scene. But suppose somebody starts to do everything to the reflection. You are looking at the mirror and then you are putting lipstick on the reflected body. Will it have any sense? No. You don't do that. Why? Because you don't feel that it is me. You don't feel that the shadow is me. Śāvapnadehe. You saw yourself in the dream and you are falling from the mountain top, and therefore the moment you got, what happened? No, I have to go to the mountain. Why? I am falling from there. Nobody says like that. Why? Because the moment you get up, you realize that that was not me. That śāvapnadehe, that body in the dream, that dream body, I don't have any notion of I when I wake up. When I was dreaming, I thought that it is me. And therefore I was suffering. But the moment I get up, do I have feeling that that is me? I don't have. nirvikalpe, in the imagined body. You are not sleeping, okay? But you are watching a movie. And then you suddenly start to think that, you look at that six-pack abs. I also want to have six-pack abs. How interesting it will be. So your imagination starts. And then what happens? Then the face of that hero changes into your face. Imagination, in your imagination. Body is of that person, six packs with lot of muscles, etc. But the face is mine. There you go. So happy. Just imagination. There is nothing wrong there. You don't have to pay to the gym, etc. For imagining, you don't have to. You don't have to go through all the process to reduce, your weight, etc. But in that imagined body, do you have feeling that that is me? No. Shankaracharya says, in the same way, jivat sharire api mastu tathaiva. In the same way, don't have this notion of I in this individual body. If that is not me, then this is also not me. You see? Veggie. See, it is a very good point that you have told me today. Okay, what is the good point that I told you today? That I am not the body and I should not consider the body to be me. Yes, good. Therefore, from today onwards, no restrictions. No restriction. Whatever, whenever I want to eat, I will eat. But the body will suffer, the body will become fat, it will become unhealthy. Let it become, I am not that. But you have sugar, let it have, the body will suffer, let it suffer, I will eat. sweets. Why? I am not the body. I am not the body. Agreed. But don't forget, sharira madhyam khalu dharma sadhanam. The body is your first instrument in dharma, let alone moksha. For moksha also, you are going to reflect. You are going to do shravana, manana, nididhyasana. Based on what? When body is supporting, then only you can do all that, isn't it? Ears are not working. Can you hear? There is pain in the body. Can you reflect? Can you meditate? You cannot sit. You cannot do anything. Can you do that? No. So this kind of Vedantic understanding has to be taken in a correct perspective. Nowhere it is said that stop taking care of your body. What Shankaracharya is saying, stop considering it to be yourself. That's it. You can take care of the body without considering it to be you. That will be better taking care of the body. Because if you consider it to be yourself, then you are over attached to it. Then you suffer more. They always say, no, for a doctor, it is better to operate on somebody else rather than their relatives. Why? Because there is some kind of connection. Now, when here we understand that I am not the body, it is easy to take care of the body. Why? Body is the instrument. Body is the instrument that is there. Yes. Just like I have pen for writing. I have laptop. I have mobile. But I don't feel I am mobile. And when I say I am not mobile, I don't throw the mobile. I use it. In the same way, use the body for whatever it has to be used for. Don't have feeling of this is me. That's the whole point. Don't go to other extreme saying that Vedanta says I am not the body, therefore why care? I will live whatever way I want. That is foolishness. That's not Vedanta. That is Vedanta gone in wrong holes. In wrong places in your mind, Vedanta has gone. Correct understanding is take care of the body without considering it to be me. Okay. So every single time this body taken to be me, this kind of thought comes up. This verse you should remember. In the shadow, in the reflection, in the dream body, in the imagined body, do I have feeling of I? No. So in this body, why am I having feeling of I? No, but wait, you see that mirror and shadow, etc. is of this body only. No, so this body is more important than that. No. Yes, my dear, that is true. But something is more important doesn't mean it is me. It can be more important, but why it has to be me? Nobody is saying that it is of the same level. It is important, but it is not me. Why it is not me? Because it is seen. Anything that is seen is inert, different from the one who is seeing. Like that now we have to reflect. This is called as jnana sadhana. Just as you have japa, puja, etc., bhakti sadhanas are there, isn't it? This is jnana sadhana. Jnana sadhana is all about reflection. Vichara, viveka marga, this is, isn't it? Inquiry. So you start thinking. Every single time your mind says, see, it is there in the mind only, this atmabuddhi for deha. This dehatmabuddhi is there in the mind only. The moment mind brings that up, you say, shh, I am not that. I will take care of it, but I am not that. I take care of my vehicle also, car also, bike also, but I am not the car or bike. In the same way, I will take care of the body, but I am not the body. Right? Now, Shankaracharya concludes this section by saying that it is paramount for us, very, very important for us to take care of this dehatmabuddhi. Take care of dehatmabuddhi means what? Give it up. Take care means not taking care, the one that we were seeing now. Take care of it. Take care of it means what? Give up, destroy it. Why? Because that is the bija, that is the seed for entire samsara. Let us read. Next verse, 164. Dehatmadhire vanrunama sadhyam.
Dehatmadhire
Janmadi dukkha prabhavasya bijam. Yatastatastvam jahitam prayatnat. Tyakte tu chitte na punarbhavasha. Dehatmadhire nrṇāṃsaddhiyāṃ janmādi dukkha prabhavasya bijam yatastatastvam jahitam prayatnat tyakte tu chitte na punarbhavasha. Yataha, since. Yatastataha, yataha tataha. Since it is like this, therefore it is like that. That is how the verse is constructed. Since deha atmadhihi eva, deha body, atma self, dhihi notion, identification with the body, notion of I in the body, that alone eva nrṇāṃ. Nrṇāṃ for the humans, for the beings. Asaddhiyāṃ. Asaddhiyāṃ to the attachment to the unreal. Asat, unreal. Dhyam, attachment. Asaddhiyāṃ. Janmādi dukkha prabhavasya bijam. It is the seed, bijam, for what? Prabhava, rising. Rising of what? Dukkha, sorrow. Sorrow of what? Janma adi, birth, etc. This identification with the body creates two things. What? Attachment to the unreal and samsara. Attachment to the unreal and samsara. What do you mean attachment to unreal? See, when I consider the body to be me, I have connection with the outside world which is unreal. Again, when I consider body to be me, through the body I am connected to the unreal world to which I have attachment. Now, how to give up that attachment to the unreal world? By disowning the body. You break the connection. I am connected to the world through the body. If you say I am not the body, I have no connection with the world. Example I will give. This is my father. How is that relationship? This body is created from that body. Therefore, this is my father. This is my son. What is that relation? That body is created from this body. Therefore, I say that is my son. Think about it. Every single connection with the objects or people is through the body. He is my friend. He is my distant relative. Not close relative, distant relative. So how it is, actually his uncle's cousin is my mother's cousin's aunt. Distant relative. But remember, whether distant, whether close, whether all those connections are through the body. The moment we have feeling that I am the body, we have connection and attachment with the world. When that feeling of I am body is not there, attachment to the unreal is not there. So this dehatmabuddhi, this identification with body creates two things. Number one, it creates attachment to the unreal world. And then what? Then comes the sorrow. Why? Because the moment you have attachment with the world, then those things will change. Those things will go. Those things will vanish. New things will come. And everything will be giving rise to the sorrow in your life. Janmādi dukkha prabhavasya bijam. It is the seed for the rising of the sorrow, birth, death, etc. I am dying, that person is dying, etc., etc., etc. Since it is like this, yataha, tataha, therefore, tvam tam prayatnat jahi. Tvam, you. Shankaracharya is telling to us, the teacher is telling to the student, tvam, you, tam, that identification, which was called as dehatmadihi, tam jahi, give up. How? Prayatnat jahi. Through effort, by efforts, you give up. It is not going to happen one fine day. Prayatnat jahi, very important. It is not that, sir, when we were born, this identification came. So at some point of time, the identification will go. It will not go on its own. We have to put efforts for that. Prayatnat jahi. Then what? Tyakte tu chitte. When this kind of notion is given up in the mind, chitte, in the mind, tyakte, when this kind of notion is given up. Why? Because this kind of notion exists in the mind only. I may have identification with the body, but that feeling of identification is in the mind. When that is given up in the mind, na punarbhavasha, there is no chance of punarbhava, of being born again. Means what? You give up identification with this body, you will never get any other body. You give up identification with this body, you will not gain any other body. No punarjanma, no samsara, nothing, done once and for all. Therefore, please give up the identification with the body. In the mind it is there, that identification is there. Give it up from the mind. Very important. In the mind you have to give up. It is not said that you have to burn the body. It is not said that, I have got a lot of attachment with the hand. I think I should cut my hand. But that attachment will not go. You have to give that up in the mind. Tyakte tu chitte na punarbhavasha. Right? Please do this. So, as long as you don't do this, samsara will continue. Your attachment to the unreal will continue. Therefore, give it up. Thus concludes Annamaya Kosha. Started from 154, isn't it? Yes. So 154 to 164, we have seen what is Annamaya Kosha, why it cannot be me, and who considers it to be me, who does not consider it to be me, how to give it up, and what happens when we give up, what happens if we don't give up, we will not get mukti. What happens if we give up, there is no punarjanma, we will get mukti. All those points we have seen. Now, next topic is taken of Pranamaya Kosha. Very short, 2 verses only. Pranamaya Kosha means what? The next sheath, the vital air sheath. What is this prana? Let us understand this concept of prana. Prana is a modification of air. And in the body, these pranas exist and they are called as physiological functions. Physiological functions. Okay. So, generally in Vedanta, etc., in other philosophies also, they will speak of pancha prana. Have you heard of this concept, pancha prana? Yes, everybody has heard. So, prana, apana, vyana, udana, samana. These are called as pancha pranas. And these are what? These are actually 5 physiological functions that the pranas do. Okay. Now, if you see carefully, prana, apana, vyana, udana, samana, all of them end with ana. Have you noticed that? Ana means movement. Ana means movement. So, these are kind of air that move in the body. Why? Because basically pranas are modification of air. So the presence of air in the body is called as prana. Air is there outside also, which we can feel. But inside the body also there is a kind of air. Just as inside the body there is a water. Isn't it? In the same way there is air also. Now that air carries out certain functions. That is called as prana. And based on the kind of function it is carrying out, it is given a name. There is one air only. There are not 5 types of air. Please understand. But that air is doing 5 types of functions. And therefore, while doing each function, it is called by different name. That is the whole thing. Okay. So now carefully you see. Ana means movement. Now pra plus ana will become prana. So upward movement. Upward movement. If you see the body, you can say navel is the middle of the body. Generally, our navel is considered middle of the body. So there is top body, there is upper body, lower body. Now, from that navel upwards, the function that happens of the air is called prana. What is that function? That function is of respiration, inhalation and exhalation. So from nostrils, the air is taken in, then it goes through throat, chest, up to navel. And then from there it again comes back and goes out from nostrils. So this respiration is called as prana. Remember, the first physiological function is called as prana, and all the 5 physiological functions together are also called as prana. That's why we say it is pranamaya kosha. So prana, there it means all the 5 put together. So the combination of all the 5 is called by the name of the first one. That's the logic. Okay. So in individual 5, prana is respiration, inhalation and exhalation. Next one is apana. Apa-ana. Apa means downward. So apa-ana means downward movement. So from navel downward. So this is the physiological function of excretion. So when we eat something, the essential nutrients are taken, and then there is a part of food which is waste. That has to be thrown out of the body. Now that function also, this 5 pranas only do. Which one of the 5 pranas do that? That function is called as apana. It pushes that waste out of the body, excretion. Prana, respiration, apana, excretion. Vyana, V means vyapti, pervasion. So vyana means what? Circulation. So what is this circulation? When we eat something, those nutrients which are taken have to be circulated to all parts of the body. Blood is created which is also to be circulated to all the parts of the body. Isn't it? In the cartoon, etc., you must have seen, no? When the Tom and Jerry and the Tom eats something, it remains as that whole thing remains as it is, and it becomes one part of his body. Isn't it? You must have seen, no? Sometimes he eats, big things also. Then that whole thing goes as it is and remains like that. In our body, it doesn't happen like that. And morning I ate one apple. See, here it is, that apple is there. Here that banana is there. No. We eat, nutrients are taken, and that nutrients are equally distributed to all parts of the body. Why it happens? Because of vyana, because of circulation. Blood circulation, nutrient circulation, etc. Vyana. 4th is udana. Ana. Ud means sudden upward movement. Sudden upward movement. Uttishta, get up. We use the word ut means upward. But here udana means what? It's basically the function of reverse reaction or reaction. So you say sneezing, vomiting, burping. All these are methods by which our body maintains its health. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. There are many people who say, Vedji, why this sneezing, it comes and it doesn't stop. It is good that you are getting sneezing. Why? Because the body temperature is maintained by that sneezing. Suddenly it becomes too cold, you sneeze and then, it is fine now. The same way with other things, burping, vomiting. Many people, they have this motion sickness, etc. while traveling. But anybody who had that surely knows that once you vomit, you feel relaxed. Appa, thank you. The problem is only when you get the feeling but it doesn't come out. Why? Because it is creating a poison in the body now. Started to become acidic. It comes out better. So these are called as reverse reactions. Generally, the food has to go down through excretion, but it suddenly comes out from top. That is the work of udana. It is also said that it is this udana vayu which pushes our jiva out of the body at the time of death. At the time of death, the body exists where it is, but the pranas and the entire subtle body, jiva, etc., it leaves, no? So it is this udana vayu which pushes, saying that chalo, packing karo, let us go to the next destination, pushes it out of the body. Udana. Fifth one, final one is called samana. Sama means samikarana, making it equal. This is called digestion, assimilation. So these 5 physiological functions are called as pranas. Actually, the first one is called as prana, but all the 5 together are also called as prana. So individually you see, prana, respiration, apana, excretion, vyana, circulation, udana, reverse reaction, samana, digestion. Now, these are physiological functions. What does it mean? That they are there for certain functions. They cannot be me. But again, there is a feeling that I am these pranas. Vedji, a technical doubt. Okay, what is your technical doubt? See, before today's class started, I did not even know that there are 5 kinds of physiological functions called as 5 pranas, prana, apana, vyana, udana. I have heard these things, pranayasva, apanayasva, vyanayasva, udanayasva. I have heard these things, but I didn't even know that they exist. How can I have feeling of I in them when I don't know that they exist? Body I know it exists. Therefore, I have feeling of I in the body. And I use also, I have come, I am going there. Yesterday I did not come. I am tall, I am short, etc. Body, I consider me many times. What is this prana? I never consider myself to be prana. We do. We do. Can you give some examples? Yes. When I say I am thirsty, I am hungry, and nowadays very often we say this, I am tired. What is this? This is pranas. Who is thirsty? Pranas. Who is hungry? Prana. Who is tired? Prana. Not the body. Not me, but prana. When you run, after some time, you cannot catch your breath. That's what you say, isn't it? Wait. Is the body tired? No. Body is not tired. Body can go still further. But you need time to catch your breath. Who is tired? Pranas are tired. Are you getting this? So though we say that we don't know these physiological functions, but we do think that that is me. Even for other person who is dying, we check the prana, we check the respiration and we say, I think gone. Why? I can't feel any air. Or sometimes they will check the blood, isn't it? Not blood. What is that called? The pumping. Blood vessel only, this thing only they check. Why? Because they want to know the pulse. Pulse means what? What is pulse? Pulse is the movement of vyana. Blood is getting circulated, isn't it? That is what you are measuring. Whenever that blood is clearly getting circulated, you can actually measure your heart rate. You don't have to touch the heart all the time. Pulse also, here also. Sometimes they will check here also. You must have seen all these things. It's actually prana only. Now, that is a physiological function. It is not me. That is what is explained in next two verses. Let us complete the two verses so that one topic is over. Let us read. So first verse will tell you what is this pranamaya kosha, what is it consisting of, and then next one will tell that I am not that. Let us read verse number 165. Karmendriyaih pañcabhirañcito'yaṃ prāణो bhavet prāṇamayastu koṣah yenātmavānannamayo'nupūrṇaḥ pravartate'sau sakalakriyasu karmendriyaih pañcabhirañcito'yaṃ prāణo bhavet prāṇamayastu koṣah yenātmavānannamayo'nupūrṇaḥ pravartate'sau sakalakriyasu. Ayam prana, this prana, the pancha prana that we have just seen, karmendriyaihi panchabhihi anchitah, constituted of or along with 5 karma indriyas, 5 organs of action. 5 organs of action? We know. Shrotram, tvaka, chakshuhu, rasana, ghranam, isn't it? What? Yes. Shrotram, tvaka, chakshu, rasana, ghranam is jnanendriya. Vak, pani, pada, payu, upastha, iti pancha karmendriyani. The 5 organs of action are speech, hands, legs, genitals and excretory organ. So the prana along with the karmendriya. Why? Because you see karma indriya, the organs of action are also action oriented. Pranas are also physiological functions, action oriented. So both of them together is bhavet pranamaya kosha. They become pranamaya kosha, vital air sheath. So what is pranamaya kosha? Pancha prana plus pancha karmendriya. The 5 pranas, pranapana vyana udana samana, plus 5 karmendriya, vak, pani, pada, payu, upastha, together called as pranamaya kosha. So the physiological functions and the organs of action together called as pranamaya kosha. Now what does it do? Yena anupūrṇaḥ, pervaded by whom asau annamaya is this food sheath. So what does pranamaya kosha do? Number 1, it pervades the food sheath, annamaya kosha. See, earlier also we had seen annamaya, pranamaya, manomaya, vijnanamaya, anandamaya. Each latter is subtler than the former. Therefore, each latter pervades the former. Remember? We had seen each latter is more pervasive, we had said. Now that is what is said here. This pranamaya kosha pervades annamaya kosha. Means what? The pranas pervade the physical body. Pranas are present in every single portion of physical body and outside also. Through the nostrils they go out also. Right? Atmavan. Because of this prana, you feel that I have life. When the prana is tired, you say, I am little tired. No energy. This energy is coming from where? From these pranas. And what? Sakala kriyasu asau pravartate. Then this person pravartate, engages into all the actions. Why? Because it is the energy component. It is the action component. This pranamaya kosha is what makes everything work, or which is actually carrying out the actions, not making anything work. It is carrying out the action. So physiological functions and the organs of action, my hands, legs, etc. are doing work in the world. So it is this pranamaya kosha which is the action component for us. Okay. This is pranamaya kosha. Now what? Shankaracharya says, my dear, this pranamaya kosha cannot be me. Why? Reasons he gives in next verse. Verse number 166. Different tune. So we will chant in a plain manner. Naivatmapi pranamayo vayu vikaraha. Ganta ganta vayuvadantar bahireshah. Yasmat kinchit kvapi na vettishtamanishtam. Yasmat kinchit kvapi na vettishtamanishtam. Swam vanyam va kinchana nityam paratantraha. Swam vanyam va kinchana nityam paratantraha. Naivatmapi pranamayo vayu vikaraha. Ganta ganta vayuvadantar bahireshah. Yasmat kinchit kvapi na vettishtamanishtam. Swam vanyam va kinchana nityam paratantraha. Again, just like Annamaya Kosha, when after explaining what is Annamaya Kosha, Shankaracharya had said why this Annamaya Kosha cannot be me. In the same way, here he explains why this Pranamaya Kosha cannot be me. Why? Number one reason. Na eva atma api. He says first pratijna. What is this? Eva. Indeed. Atma na. This is not self. This is not self. This is not self. This Pranamaya Kosha is not self. Why? Pranamayaha vayu vikaraha. Because this vital air sheath, Pranamaya Kosha, is nothing but modification of air. Something that is already modifying. How can it be unmodifying self? Number one reason. Second reason. Ganta ganta. It goes, ganta. The one that goes. Goer. Aganta. It is the one that is coming. Comer. Kamar, not Hindi kamar. Goer and kamar. By the way, just recently I came to know that such words exist in English. Goer, kamar, etc. We don't use it much, but they do exist. So it is the one which is going and coming. Where? Antaha bahi, inside and outside. Eshaha, this prana is going and coming. Inside and outside means what? Going outside and coming inside. Now it will be very difficult if you say that prana is me. You know why? See, in pranayama, etc., no? They will speak of rechaka, kumbhaka, puraka, etc., you know? Antah kumbhaka, bahih kumbhaka, rechaka means inhaling, puraka means exhaling, etc. Now suppose you exhale. Prana is outside. Means what? Self is outside. You will die. If I say that with every inhalation I am taking the self inside and with every exhalation I am sending the self outside, that is not possible. The one that goes and comes is this prana. I don't come and go. I am there all the time. Another reason it gives, that it is coming and going, whereas self is not coming and going. Vayuvat, like the air, it comes and goes. Wind is there, not there. I am there. Next word. Yasmad, because. Kinchit, anything. Kvapi, anywhere. Na vetti. That's another reason. What is another reason? It does not know anything anywhere. Means what? It is not consciousness. Ishtam, anishtam. Good or bad. Favorable or unfavorable. Swam va, anyam va. It doesn't know itself. It doesn't know anything else. Kinchana, whatever you can say, the prana doesn't know anything. Prana cannot distinguish between good and bad, favorable, unfavorable. Prana doesn't know itself. Prana doesn't know anything outside also. Therefore, it is not me. Why? Nityam paratantraha. Because it is nityam, always paratantraha, dependent on something else. Means what? The capacity that the prana has to carry out various functions, physiological functions, comes from something else. Remember, the moment that capacity giving factor is not there, pranas cannot function. Please understand this point. Unless and until that inert prana is enlivened by the consciousness, prana cannot carry out the function. Who orders the prana that now it is time for circulation, now it is time for digestion, now it is time for respiration, etc.? Who orders? There has to be something. It cannot take order on itself. Why? Because it is not a sentient entity. It is inert. It is like there is a bike. But does the bike know when to start, when to stop, where to go? Bike doesn't know. There has to be a rider who starts the bike, takes the bike to the place that where he wants. Anything that functions has to have an intelligent factor enlivening that function. Remember this point we had seen? The assemblage proves presence of something other than the assemblage, enlivening the assemblage, distinct from the assemblage. In Upanishads also we are studying. Those who are attending Kathopanishad, we are studying this. Any time any system is working, that system is meant for an entity other than the system. Example, house is there. In house, everything is, when you start the tap, the water comes. When you switch on the button, the light glows. Every single thing that is there in the house is meant for the person living in the house. Everything else is there, the person is not there. What is the use of the entire thing? Vejji, my house is very modern. Why? Everything is convertible. Sofa come bed. Now you see, here it is sofa, pull it out, it is bed. Again it is sofa, again it is bed. But that sofa or bed is meant for somebody who is sitting or sleeping on it. If that is not there, what is the use of this? Anytime there is any cooperative endeavor happening, anytime there is a collaboration happening, anytime there is an assemblage, many things are coming together to carry out certain function, it is always meant for something else. Always. One day you go out and suddenly see that they have done that they have done the road, etc., is perfect. Till yesterday there were pits. No, there was road in pits. Means more pits are there, in between there was some road. But today you come out, everything is perfect. And you look up, all the lights are going, street lights. You immediately understand all this is meant for somebody who is coming. Either the Prime Minister is visiting, Chief Minister is visiting, somebody is visiting, for whom all this is done. Any time any activity is happening, there has to be an entity enlivening the activity for whom the activity is meant. Pranamaya kosha carries out all the functions, but it is paratantra, it is dependent on something else. Dependent on something else, that entity other than the pranamaya kosha, which enlivens the pranamaya kosha, for whom pranamaya kosha is functioning. That entity is me and not the pranamaya kosha. That's what is the point. I am that for whom the pranamaya kosha is working, because of whom the pranamaya kosha is working. I am not the pranamaya kosha. Pranamaya kosha is vikara, is modification of air. Reason number 1. Pranamaya kosha is consisting of prana which goes and comes inside and outside. I don't come and go out. Number 3, it doesn't know anything. It doesn't know anything. Pranamaya kosha doesn't know anything. Whereas I am the conscious entity. And 4th reason, it is paratantra. It is dependent on something else. Whom is it dependent on? That pranamaya kosha is dependent on me. Who am I? I am swatantra, independent. I don't need pranas for my existence, but pranas need me for their existence. See the difference between swatantra and paratantra. Pranas cannot exist unless there is self and reflection of self. Pranas cannot carry out their functions unless it is enlivening, unless the self and the reflection is enlivening the pranas, making them eligible to carry out their functions, empowering them. And all the functions of the pranas are meant for this entity, for the self who is distinct from the pranas. Okay. Therefore, I am not pranamaya kosha. Not the annamaya kosha, not the pranamaya kosha. Now what? Next one is manomaya kosha. That's the topic that starts 167, verse number 167, goes up to 183. Again, the same thing is, same methodology is used. What is manomaya kosha? How I am not manomaya kosha. But here manomaya kosha is more important because all the other identifications also are residing here. We said no, that dehatmabuddhi, that identification with the body, is actually in the mind. This pranatmabuddhi, identification with prana, is also in the mind. So some more discussion happens on that factor also. We will see in the next session. Okay. Chalo. Let us conclude. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.